I remember it like it was yesterday. I was playing the game. I was pretending. I mean, I was playing the part. I mean, I had everybody looking at me like I had it all together. I had it all figured out. The family, the wife, the job, the vehicle, the friends, the identity online, the persona, right? But it was all fake. It was all a fraud. On the inside, what happened when the camera cut off? What happened whenever no one was around? I was broken. I was struggling. I was hurt. But God used a tool, a different tool, a very unexpected tool to save my marriage, to help rebuild my faith. That tool was cycling. And I know what you're thinking. That makes no sense. Well, I'm Calvin Williams, the founder of Faith Fuel Cycling. And this channel was created to share just that, my story, how God did something different, how God shook things up, used a different tool to get a brand new result. And for me, it was cycling. I mean, a few years back, me and my wife, we were going through some real tough patches. I mean, it seemed like people say a tough season. Let's say a tough run, right? We ain't gonna put a time period on, but it was rough. And it seemed like it had got there overnight. But what really happened is what we don't put attention on, what don't get measured, it falls into chaos. If, in other words, what you don't take care of ultimately will overgrow and get out of control, just like a garden, right? And what happened was I got complacent. I was complacent to the point where I was doing my own thing. I wasn't worried about showing up for anything. I was focused on me because, hey, I'm paying the bills. I'm taking care of responsibilities. I got everybody's stuff in order. Let me have my time. And what really happened is it drew a wedge, a disconnect. And really, it was a problem that started long time ago. The source started long before I even got here. Not to blame my family history, my background, but it was ideas. It was belief system. It was a belief that you have to figure it out on your own. You have to be the man and figure it out on your own. Don't tell anybody else what you're dealing with because what really happens is people going to look at you wrong and talk about you. But the truth is, no matter how good you think people think you're doing, guess what? Somebody's still talking about you. So if you're going through a rough patch, you're going through this crazy season, similar to me, maybe this story will bless you. So what happened? A couple years ago, I was introduced to cycling, not because I wanted to do anything on a bicycle, not because I loved wearing tights and all that type of jazz. None of that. It was 2019. My son was right about 10 years old. My little girl, she was coming up on 5, 6, right? Um, and it was right before COVID. And as COVID hit, everybody knows the world shut down. Life stopped. A lot of people just kind of passed through those years. We don't even think about it. But truly, what happened during that time was life shut down, right? A lot of places closed down, a lot of things stopped, and problems that had been going on for years had to be addressed. And as the world was getting shut down, problems could not hide anymore. For me and my house, me and my wife, we had to address some big problems. And it got hard. So hard, in fact, we even contemplated divorce. And I don't say that to be hyperbolic. I say that because it was almost it. It was literally almost over. But God. So what cycling have to do with any of that? Well, as we were going through our rough patch, my wife and I enlisted the help of a pastor at our church, Strong Tower Christian Fellowship, Pastor David. We sat down in conference and we got some help because the truth is, if you knew how to fix this situation, you wouldn't be in the situation. So we had to seek some good counsel. And by seeking good counsel, we got some tools, some resources on how we can begin to communicate with each other better. But that was the beginning. Cycling didn't get introduced until a few months later, when my pastor one Sunday and put an offer out to any of the guys in church that wanted to join him on a bike ride. I really want in church like that. But I had a cousin that was in the crowd and she said, "Oh, Calvin, he ride bikes." Literally, I wasn't even in the building. But my name came up in a conversation and was thrown in as a possible person that would get on a bike and ride. All because I was teaching my kids how to ride the bikes at the time. We had a few mountain bikes. So when COVID happened, guess what? We was riding. We were outside. But as this invitation came out, I was shown something different than, the Walmart bikes I used to ride, the mountain bikes, or me and my son just riding 5, maybe 6 miles. I was shown a new world with these itty bitty tires, these curved handlebars, road bikes. Man, I ain't know nothing about no road bike. Only thing I knew about a road bike was the crazy people that had them tight clothes on that ride on Saturdays. Right? That was all I knew. But he invited me out. I said, and I accepted the invite. And when I accepted the invite, he told me he would let me borrow one of his bikes and we can go on this ride. He didn't tell me how far we was going. What really happened was he put me on this bike that was so fast, right? It made me believe that I was great. It made me believe that I was a super athlete, Lance Armstrong or something, or Pagacha. That's who I thought I was when I got on this bicycle because I was zooming. But in this zooming, I found a joy, a love for play. Something that a lot of us as we grow up, we lose. We lose the sense of play. And in losing that play, or should I say, in rediscovering that play, I found something that could be a pastime, a hobby, another way of being self-therapeutic, right? Getting outside, getting a breather, experiencing life, sightseeing, decompressing. But what really happened, I found brotherhood through cycling, this tool of cycling, faith fueled cycling, that I began to have conversations. I began to develop relationships with my pastor, with other brothers from the church. Well, we go out and we ride, and we ride, and we ride. But it's not just about the ride, it's about the experience. It's about the brotherhood, the conversation, the development, the growth. I mean, that first ride that I rode was like 30 miles. And I was shocked that anybody would get on a bike and do 30 miles. But they had me on a real fast bike and didn't tell me where we were going. We just on this bike trail, and it was pretty awesome. So what happened? I bought a bike and I fell in love with it. But it was through those conversations, the fellowship, the brotherhood, that I saw different. I actually saw men that were dedicated to their wives, that was dedicated to their families, that was dedicated to doing better. I was able to see biblical principles put into action on bikes. I mean, in real life, if you're a man like I am, you know that you can tell a lot about a person by watching them work, right? You can tell a lot about a man's character on the way he finishes a task, or if he puts his best foot forward, if he's willing to learn. And by stepping into a new world of cycling of all things, I was able to learn. I was able to learn discipline. I was able to learn structure. I was able to get out my own way, right? I was able to glean something like Paul said. Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." What I saw in action was seeing my pastor who had a bike, who had been riding for 10, maybe 15 years before I even touched this. And I started to glean what he was doing. If he had a bag on his bike, I got a bag. If he had a certain type of water bottle, I get that type of water bottle. Why? Because if it works for him, if he has the experience, I can short my learning curve by following him. What happened? Fast forward in a few years, many of the brothers in church, we all have the same bike. Many of us have a Fuji Grand Fondo endurance bike. Could you ever guess why? because my pastor rides a Fuji Grand Fondo endurance bike. Now we love going fast, but as we get older, we want to make sure we can be comfortable too. But the lesson is in the development. The lesson is in the growing. The lesson is seeing biblical principles and practice right in front of us. And as he follows Christ, I'm following his example. And as he riding the bike, I'm following his example. Now, what happens on these long distance rides or these Saturday rides? It's conversation, development, setting goals, hitting personal records. Sometimes we'll ride out and halfway we'll stop. Majority, all the time. Regardless of how far we go. Halfway, we stop, we pull out snacks, and we talk. 20, 30 minutes. Great conversation. We might be talking about life, talking about kids going to college, talk about marital issues, talk about needs, talk about what we need prayer for. But in this fellowship, in this time outside together with men, brotherhood bonds are connected. And guess what? It truly saved my marriage. I was able to get real insights, real world application, real conversation, real talk, but in a safe place. In a place where what I said wasn't going to be spread. From a place where what I said wasn't going to be rehashed around the church. A place where brothers could come together. A place where prayer partners can commune and we actually pray, not just for each other, but with each other. Cycling, riding a bike truly saved my marriage, but it also helped rebuild my faith, my confidence, and the fact that I could trust man. I could trust brothers in Christ to truly have not just my back, my front, and their word. I was able to actually find brothers, right? Cycling, faith-fueled cycling has changed my life forever. And that's why I created this page. This is my first video here. And the task, the goal, the objective for this page is to share with you the journey. To share with you how you too, if you are in that rough patch, if you have felt broken, if you are going through that season where you just don't know and you feel like giving up, that just maybe you can find an outlet. Maybe it's cycling. Maybe you can connect. Maybe we can get together, ride, chat. Or maybe we can follow each other on Strava and see our progression. And you can join our free community, the Faith Fuel Cycling Brotherhood. Free community, link down in the description where you can get connected and know that you are not in this by yourself. So get outside, get active, do what God told you to do. And if you're curious about getting outside, connecting with brothers, join the community and let's grow. Because you don't have to do it alone, nor should you do it alone. There is safety in wise counsel. There is safety in brotherhood. And if one can chase 1,000, it says two can chase 10,000. So what happens when men lock arms? What happens when we commit? What happens when we get disciplined and walk in truth? Join us and let's find out. This is Faith Fuel Cycling. I'm Calvin, and this is a place for man to rebuild faith, discipline, and let's grow this community together. Ride strong and live stronger. Till next time, God bless. Peace.